That's right. Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we find ourselves on the cusp of Disney's big venture into the world of streaming, even courting a war in the process, we thought it'd be nice to stay up to date on the ever-growing catalog and rule on what's a must or a bust on Disney Plus. And folks, let me just tell you, for as long as we've been doing these Disney Plus season wrap-up podcasts, I've never really been all that enthused about them because I'm just like, yeah, WandaVision, solid enough show. Falcon Winter Soldier, solid enough show. Let's run through the episodes one more time, just to bam, 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 get them out of the way. Like, I feel like all the Disney Plus shows have at the very least been good. And Dragon, I know you're not, I know you don't want me to poo-poo it. I'm going to be as nice as I can be, but Book of Boba Fett, simply put, it has problems, man, to say the least. I mean, I still love episode 2, and we'll get into it, but it has problems. Anyways, joining us tonight, folks, it's Lazerdude. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, it's Lazerdude time, and I'm happy to be here.
It's Lazerdude 99.
Happy to be involved and seeing this, and yeah, I'm happy to share my thoughts on the Book of Boba Fett. Yeah.
All right.
Lots of stuff to say.
Yeah. I've got to tell you guys, this is probably, to me, for almost all the wrong reasons, one of the most fascinating things that's come out of Disney Plus so far in the entire run of the streaming service. Yep. And I don't really think that this is like inherently bad, but I do very much think it's a failure. I'm sorry, Dragon. I'm sorry.
It's a little harsh. I'm just saying it's a little harsh. I mean, it got a lot of traction. A lot of people saw it, and there are people that do like it. Not a lot, but there are people that like it.
But I don't know. To me, I just think this show is fascinating. Just from like an episode by episode point of view, it was always doing something wrong. But it still had really good elements to it. So yeah, I just want to jump right into it. Lazerdude, just really quick. Let's see. I believe you were on for one of our episode recaps.
I was.
Right?
I was on the one that had nothing of Boba Fett in. It was all about the Mandalorian.
Oh, okay, nice.
Wait, weren't you
so speaking of which, what did you think of the actual Boba Fett show?
I feel like Star Wars Visions had more consistency episode to episode, and those were all standalone stories. Yeah, I gotta say this the last episode. I was like, at least if you can give me a roaring finale, I can at least be somewhat This show kind of went out on a whimper. Now, there's, as you say, there's good stuff about it. There's always something in every episode that caught my attention and had me at least wanting to come back. But after the whole thing was over, it was like, well, that was that. I don't think I'll ever come back to watch this show ever again, except for maybe that one Mandalorian episode and anticipation for season 3. I felt like the last episode, in particular, it felt so jumbled together, like a suitcase that was trying to pack for a month vacation that's only meant to hold clothes for 3 days.
Crammed in there, I think, is what you're looking for. It felt all
crammed in. And yeah, that's my basic analysis of the show, The Book of Boba Fett. How about you guys?
Well, now that all is kind of said and done, I remember going into Boba Fett very hyped, loving, I loved his reintroduction in Mando season 2. I love Robert Rodriguez, I love his style, and I liked what he did with that episode particularly. So I thought it was like an excellent pick to showrun this. So I ultimately really enjoyed this, but it is not a slam dunk like Mando is by any stretch, which is ironic. Which is ironic because without Boba Fett there is no Mando.
It's true.
I approve of the direction of the Boba Fett arc in this. A lot of people are just like very much kind of like set in their ways and like, no, we can't be different. No, he's got to be the same old bounty hunter. But I like the arc that we take him. I like the progress that we make with him. But sadly, this show is starting to confirm my Disney Plus series fears that their shows have kind of had, and this one I think most kind of publicly is kind of conveyed here, where they're all starting to share similar kryptonites in their approaches, similar kryptonites and kind of recurring kind of faults and issues. In this case, I think the two most prominent ones in this case. Now, the second one I'm about to mention, not something all the Disney Plus shows have, but one that I think all of them have kind of started to have: runtime. Runtime more so than the number of episodes. I mean, more so.
I feel like it's like the opposite problem with the Marvel Netflix shows, ironically enough.
I mean, that said, though, again, with the Marvel Netflix shows, even from the outset, I mean, WandaVision is more of an anomaly there because that one was like, the whole half-hour thing. So, with the exception of WandaVision, let's say. But even that, they were supposed to go for 10 episodes, ended up being 9. But let's just say, for argument's sake, WandaVision being the exception, our shows aren't given like the full hour when they were supposed to be like 6-hour movies, which is kind of bothersome, and that does trim maybe some key stuff out. Like, hey, Falcon Winter Soldier is a 6-hour movie. Not quite. It's like a 4.5-hour movie, actually. So, and I think that kind of adds up after a while. And with Hawkeye, it's more of like kind of a question of approach in which, like, hey, it's not so much that thing. I think probably fared the best out of the bunch.
Hawkeye could pretty much just be a feature film.
Exactly, and the only issue there is that they had a bunch of really great deleted scenes that I would have loved to have seen there, but it would have kind of recontextualized things. So it's kind of like that one's more like in the fringes. My point is, in the case of this show, runtime, which I like, I'm going to assume had to be is probably like a budgetary thing as to why we had to cut down only so many episodes, because apparently it was 7 episodes because the way they had to chop up the episodes, and one episode shorter than the rest, hence why it's 7 episodes and not like a 6 or an 8, because they just only had so much time to work with. And I don't know, so that's kind of where I'm at on that. So it feels like had we had more episodes, I think we might have had time to kind of maybe devote more character focus and kind of we would be allowed to have our kind of our Mando-y tangents, and then also kind of have our Mando cake and eat it too, so to speak. Like, okay, we can have these episodes, maybe not back to back. We can have these episodes, but also show what's going on with the old Fett man. And the other thing, though, and we'll get into this as we go on, I guess. I get a sense that there's some self-doubt in itself in the show. There's some hesitancy in the storytelling, which I think, and it's been recurrent in a few of them, even the Marvel MCU Disney Plus series, where it's like, guys, don't give me like a mystery plot line or anything. Don't give me like don't give me like, hey, I'm afraid people aren't going to watch, so Mando. I'm afraid people aren't going to watch Luke Skywalker. It's like, guys, people are going to watch this. You don't have to like load the bases like left and right. You don't have to razzle dazzle me. People are going to watch this because, one, it's on Disney Plus, and secondly, it's Star Wars, and then thirdly, it's Boba Fett. Three good reasons right there.
Yeah. Yeah, you never really need to worry of not having an audience when it's a Star Wars property. There's always going to be... Look, there are fans that bent over backwards to find the Star Wars holiday special so they can say they've seen it all. Yeah. If you are worried that people aren't going to watch the Book of Boba Fett, you were worried about the wrong problems.
I'm not saying it's like it's full on that, but it just feels like that. It comes across like that. And it's like... I also can't help but wonder if calling it the Book of Boba Fett maybe puts it into a box of like book again, perhaps, unless you're really going to say like volume 1 of the Book of Boba Fett. Like, okay, we're definitely like in the first season here. It just feels like, okay, Book of Boba Fett, this is kind of a little side pocket in our Mando adventure where it's like, well, we really got to make the most of it. When we don't fully make the most of it, it kind of shows.
Yeah. I think I thought when the original title came up at the end of Mandalorian season 2, the Book of Boba Fett, I thought, are we gonna like see some events from the previous like movies and stuff, but like contextualize it from Boba's perspective?
That's the thing. It's possible. That was like one of the initial speculations. It could have been that.
Yeah, and then it ends because him like running his own. Like, I felt like the story should end like with him shooting Jabba the Hutt's old assistant and then walking off like, I'm the bad arse who now runs things. Deal with it. And I'm like, well, that story's over. But I guess it wasn't,
Anything else, Dragon?
No, not really. Just it's hopefully we're coming back for more because there was a lot of material to work with here. But again, just some stuff that
I am not hoping we come back for more.
Well, I'm hoping we come back for more just so we can actually do more with Boba Fett, I guess.
I mean, Boba can pop up, but frankly, this has killed any goodwill I think anyone has for an actual Boba Fett.
There is one hanging Chad from the Bad Batch that could correlate in a good Book of Boba Fett season 2 if they wanted to do that. I'm saying I would want them to come back for that mainly. Otherwise, I'm kind of in the same boat. If they don't do that, it's like, anyway.
Did you guys know that the screen time that Boba has in the present day, so not counting any flashback stuff and not counting the finale, so basically the entire arc of like the Mos Espa stuff, not counting the finale,
right,
and Mando's screen time is like almost exactly equal. It's about an hour apiece.
Wait,
and I think that right there kind of shows like a big problem. When I first saw the Book of Boba Fett pop up, my first instinct was like, oh, okay, that's going to be Mando season 3, and season 3 is going to be like kind of like split between Mando and Boba Fett. Like I was almost kind of thinking maybe season 3 would be sort of like season 3 volume 1 would be the Book of Boba Fett, and then season 3 volume 2 would be the Book of Bo-Katan. And then Mando would kind of pop in and out of both of those. That's kind of how I thought they were going to do it. Obviously, I think that would have worked out a lot better, but that's not really the route they went in. All right, so let's just break it down. I feel like there's a lot to say about these episodes. So, Chapter 1: Stranger in a Strange Land.
This was directed by Rodriguez.
So right off the bat, I love the Sarlacc pit scene. That it was like wish fulfillment for me.
Me too. I think for everyone, honestly, it was like it's the money shot. It's like the wish fulfillment of everyone of like, please let him come back, and he came back, like we all thought he would. Yeah.
So, unfortunately, on a rewatch, this episode's pretty weak outside of that.
Well, I mean, come on, there was some. I thought it was like solid setup.
I thought it was a little too soon. Like he got out a little too easy. Like he sprayed his thing around and then he just like popped out of the ground. I wanted to see him like let him struggle there for like days, trying to get out of this thing, like really show the fight. And
it could have been a whole episode if they really wanted to stretch it out, do like 127 hours type thing with it.
Yeah, and then just have flashbacks to what got him here. But I get you only have 7 episodes. Maybe that's a little bit asking too much, but I just felt like he wakes up, he goes his flamethrower around, and he gets out. Now, don't get me wrong, I like the scene. I just was like, oh, I wish it was a little bit more. Because, like, how does he get out of the beak? Because I was wondering, I know I'm skipping ahead, but when we go later episodes and the beak and the Sarlacc does show up, I thought for a second, I was like, oh, did they not go with the version that doesn't have the Sarlacc beak? But then we see that it does. So I was like, how does he get out of that part?
Well, no, he crawled out. He burst through the side of it, and he crawled through the sand. That's how he did it.
I guess.
Yeah, I assumed he got through the stomach.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry.
Anyway, so
I mean, honestly, Dragon, like I remember back when the episodes were first airing and people were complaining about the action in this one. And I was like, I don't really think it's a big deal. But now looking back on it, I'm like, just because I feel like the show as a whole struggles in the action department outside of the Bryce Dallas Howard episode, which we'll get to. But, my God, give her a Star Wars movie. But
we should. Less Jurassic World, more Star Wars, please.
Yep.
Yes.
But yeah, I really think this episode, unfortunately, was a lot of just like, okay, this is pretty much what I was expecting, and it was just Boba just kind of like doing negotiations and.
Well, I mean, think about it in hindsight, though, where we know where the story goes and everything. I mean, it was really cool. I think about this is it's the whole Sarlacc thing onwards. It's the humbling of Boba Fett, kind of in flashback form, starting with the great Sarlacc escape, if you will. And the Sarlacc is kind of like a symbol of Boba Fett's hubris. The complacency as a bounty hunter by Jabba the Hutt's side, and what did that lead him? It led him down the belly of the Sarlacc. So we take his armor away from by freaking Jawas, like the lowest thing that could happen to you. Jawas took him out like a punk and stole his armor, and he starts on this path of self-discovery. So, I mean,
and I think the start of that path is good. I just think it pays off much better in episode 2. I honestly think episode 1 and 2 could have been like one arc.
Which again, I still argue they really should have premiered the 2 episodes at the time.
Oh, totally, absolutely.
I think it would have really helped. I think it would have at least maybe staved off what we eventually would have discovered about the Book of Boba Fett. It would have I don't know.
I think,
but yeah,
one of my things that, and I haven't really felt like Disney has like stuck their nose in too much, but I feel like they're a little hesitant to make a show about a bad guy without redeeming him. I think that's what a lot of fans do get.
I don't
upset
mind
with
it
this
specifically because of episode 2. I think episode 2 really, yeah, it was kind of an agenda, and honestly, I feel like the contrast between episode 2 and what we saw in Mando season 2, where it's like kind of like a wizened, more hardened Boba Fett who's, not as ruthless, but still a badass and kind of spiritual.
That's fair.
But what I'm saying is that's not really the Book of Boba Fett or the Boba Fett character that we get in the present day. Unfortunately, I do agree that the Boba Fett we get in present day is pretty damn milquetoast.
I think it's interesting that Mando basically gave us the depth we wanted from Boba Fett over the years, like in the whole, like everyone said, like, Boba Fett's such a cool character, he's all style, like, we don't really know the guy because he got swallowed by the Sarlacc pit, like, Boba Fett, it just goes down the
Boba Fett, where?
So that's the thing. So we established, I like that we established the armor as like the surface representation and the falsehood to reconcile with, in that, I think the thing we kind of, unfortunately, I don't think we went as directly with this as I would have liked, but I like that we kind of, again, I could say symbolic with the whole stripping of the armor and everything. It's like we called out in those Mando season 2 episodes, you're not a Mandalorian, you're just the guy who wears Mandalorian armor. And that kind of seems to be the mission statement of the show. It's a little more subtly than I probably should have been, where it's like, who are you besides that armor? Who are you besides like the feared bounty hunter? You take your reputation away. It's like, you got to cultivate a new one as a crime boss, which again jettisons us into that new status quo. So that's the thing. I don't mind like going in the less kind of like kicking butt and taking names Boba Fett that we're accustomed to, in terms of like he's trying like the path of nobility after we learn in episode 2 of this.
I love Dances with Wolves Boba Fett. I just don't think that it translates into the rest of the show.
Yeah, I'm not sure what one has to do fully with the. I guess him finding a family, and like, I guess my always thing is like, I get why he goes with the the Tusken Raiders to survive. I just don't get why he stays there. I think there's never a moment where like they save his life as well.
Well, they saved him from dying in the desert.
Yes, but they was as a prisoner.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't feel as like like they were doing him a favor necessarily.
Well, I mean, he didn't die. It's kind of a favor.
I know, but I'm just saying that, like, if you got adrift at sea and then you got saved and thrown in prison, you wouldn't feel as grateful. I mean,
again, it wasn't like a touchy-feely thing until he saved the other one.
These guys are pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. Here's something I want to talk about, though, in kind of his leadership style, though. I love that what we kind of say at the end of the day, after all said and done, looking back on it. So episode 1, we kind of, his patented thing is like, he invests in, I think, his tact, his respectful tactic that he's built this whole thing around here, is worked on people, but not the business end of things. That's kind of where we land on that sort of thing, where, he spares the Gamorrean guards, he takes a chance on the mods, like all of, and Chrysanthemum, that pays off. But of course, when he does that on the business side of things, and like, hey, there's guys, give me a chance, and obviously,
the business side of things is where it really falls flat. I think it's just like there's a difference between him being noble and being like a spiritual kind of like tribal Boba Fett, and just being a straight up pushover.
And again, I think that does fit into like the fish out of water, being a crime boss, where he's just been the guy sitting besides the crime boss for all these years. And also Fennec Shand, which just again, Ming-Na Wen, greatest Fennec Shand.
She is so underused in this show.
But was great.
I do wish we got more from her, because like, I don't get why she stays with Boba Fett. Not to say that her character
Outside of
doesn't
just
work for her.
financial gain, and I was really hoping there'd be more to it than that.
What do you mean more? Like, he saved her life.
Yeah, he saved her life, and then she said, "Okay, we're even." But then she stays, and I want to know. I wanted to see more of why. Like, what did she see in him? Like, what is their relation? Like, obviously, I don't think.
Yeah,
it's
Dragon, I hate to say it, but you're pretty forgiving about pretty paper thin writing. Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, technically it's like the save the life thing, but I agree with Lazerdude. It's like it's just kind of like I feel like we got the bare minimum. It's like we pretty much already kind of could have put the pieces together on that.
No. Because the way I look at it, she was like what was she? She was an assassin before, right? And she had a bounty on her, and she was on the run. And now she gets with Boba Fett. She saves his ship, evens the score. And why does she want to stay with him now? Is it a protection thing that no one's going to come after me if I'm with Boba Fett? Like, even if that's where it starts, even if that's just where it starts, and then they grew a respectful bond, I don't really feel like we get to know her as a person, what her feelings are on everything. We get to know her as an assassin, what her tactics
We literally
are,
don't get to know anyone in this show at all. That's a big problem that we're going to talk about. Like, they're all so surface level. I mean, even Chrysanthemum in a way.
I'm ready to like her. Like Ming-Na, she's just great. She's always fun, and she always has a lot of ferocity in her performances and her physical performances as well. She's always great, but I want to know more about her as a person. Like, what's her likes, dislike? What was her childhood like? You know, what put her into this type of life? And we never know anything like that about her.
Well, look, I won't lie that we could use more all around for things in this show, so I won't lie about that. But it just still feels like, you know, you saw the bond grow. You saw that, you know, it's not just the initial.
I'm sorry. At this point, we're kind of jumping around all over the place. So do you mind if we? No, it's all good. I just like we're literally talking about stuff that's happening in like chapter 4. So
right.
Okay. So can we just transition to the next episode and kind of like refocus here?
Well,
sure.
Yeah.
All right. I just don't want to get too far off topic.
I was going to get back on topic, but yeah, sure. Let's just jump.
Okay, fine. Go ahead.
So again,
and then we'll transition. All right, because I don't want to stay on one episode for too long.
Okay. So yeah, it's just the lend credence to Sunset earlier. The shield was taking them out with the shields to basically give us our back to tank framing device at that throughout. It's going to be present throughout all the episodes. It just feels still really like.
Oh, let's talk about that damn Bantha tank. Oh my god.
Back to tank, yes.
Okay, you know what? I feel like that's Star Wars problem for inventing two words that sound so similar, you know?
Well, the Bantha's only like in one movie.
I'm just saying.
A Bantha tank would be pretty interesting. It makes it sound like a Bantha with armor, you know.
Okay, what is the actual terminology?
Back to tank is the healing tank. Wait, what are you saying?
Or no, Bacta. Sorry, Bacta, like bacteria, but Bacta.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just saying it sounds very similar phonetically. I'm sorry.
Anyway.
Yeah, so the tank stuff, honestly, the only way I could say it is like I feel like that it's like a perfect representation of just how off the rails this show is, where I feel like right from the get-go, the uneven distribution of screen time between the flashback stuff and the present day stuff was an issue. The present day stuff was going along at a glacial freaking pace. And the flashback stuff, while interesting, was pretty slow and ate up a lot of screen time. And unfortunately, I kind of feel like it is an issue, but it almost kind of feels like a humble issue in the grand scheme of things. It's like, I feel like this is a show that kind of just like builds problems on top of itself in that regard.
I mean, it feels like it was, I think it was their solution to the fact that, okay, with the time frame that we have, we just don't have as much to say about the present as we thought. So I think all the meat of the show is really kind of in the flashback stuff, it feels like, not counting our Mando stuff, just with the Boba Fett.
I honestly think the whole show could have been flashbacks.
So that's the thing, and again, might have also to some of our earlier speculations of what this show could have been. Again, Boba Fett's past, in some way, shape, or form, is rife with potential, even in kind of like the interim stuff, as we find here, like just getting from point A to point B of like what happens after the pit. There's your flashback story. There's a lot to do there, but again, it's the fact that we contrive a way to get into the back to tank with like the thing. It was with the speaking to the action point that you made, where again it's like these really we're going to take him out with like Wakandan riot shields. That's how we're going to take him out after we saw his introduction in Mando. We took out all those stormtroopers so awesomely, really.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so
Yeah.
we kind of
It also is like, since the shields don't actually like damage them, they're all just like force shields, and he has a jetpack.
Yeah.
It felt like, okay, this, like, you're not actually doing too much to me.
Yep.
Yeah, the shields were weird. And also there was a bunch of them. I mean, you'd think that if they had surrounded that area and just blasted them, they at least could have taken out Fennec Shan.
See, to me, that was like the most glaring mistake of episode 1 for me. Of just like, really, that's how we're going to take him out, so we can get to our framing device, which is a cool framing device, but that's how we get him in the tank.
It's a cool framing device at first, but as we'll talk about it, it literally becomes a joke as we go through.
Yeah, and again, I do like the relationship between, he comes from, and this is the thing I just want to circle with, like, kind of, there's the through line through all of this, is I like that. I think the reason Boba Fett's his tact and everything, the respectful tact, and why he sticks around Tatooine, all this sort of stuff, is again he's looking for a sense of family, because he lost his father, which again harkens back to coming from Camino, the very water-laden world, to now a desert world. I don't know, so I'm kind of liking the.
And I get that, and on paper it works. I just think the problem is that the found family that he has is like just such a damn nothing burger of a slate of characters.
Again, I blame on 7 episodes.
Sure, but still
more like 5 episodes.
Yeah, well, we can never talk about what we could have had. Like, we could have had like a good 20 arc episode where we get to know all these characters inside and out, but I mean, it's not animated, so we're not going to get that.
Unfortunately.
All right, guys, let's transition here.
Yes.
Okay. Episode 2.
Chapter 2, The Tribes of Tatooine. This, honest to God, might be my favorite piece of Disney Star Wars media.
I think
in a bottle, this is just freaking fantastic storytelling.
I found something out about this you're going to like, Tiki.
Okay.
So the director was Steph Green, I believe a female director, Steph Green. Steph Green, she directed an episode from the last season of Bates Motel, one of the really good episodes. She directed episode 7, the one where he attacks Dylan at the end. The whole. Yeah, I'm saying one of our Bates Motel connects there. Like, yeah.
Anyway. So yeah, this is like in an age where it's like we have all kinds of like, it's Ferngully is dances with wolves with fairies, Avatar is dances with wolves in space. This is dances with wolves with Star Wars, and it's done in 30 minutes, roughly, the amount of time that's devoted to the flashback. And my God, is it more compelling than I think the actual Dances with Wolves? I mean, it's, first of all, I'm a sucker for Tatooine natives, whether it be Jawas or the Tuscans. I just love it. I love that kind of culture. I love that kind of world building. And just to spend so much time with the Tuscans, to get really deep into their culture. Yeah. I really love how Tamora Morrison's Maori descent sorry, Jesus Christ, words. His Maori heritage kind of came into play with the carving of the staff and everything. That was really cool.
Yeah, the gaffy stick, yeah.
Yeah. I think the end of this episode is freaking fantastic. The tribal dance at the fire, and then the Boba Fett music coming in at the end. It's all really, really well done, I think. And even the present day stuff, I think, is really good with Black Chrysanthemum and
the twins.
The Hutt Go ahead, Lazerdude. I'm sorry.
So I was just saying, I think episode 2 is both a mixed bag, because it's a lot of stuff is really good about, like, as you say, the flashbacks are really good. The present day stuff is actually really good. I'm like, okay, so the Hutts are moving back in and are seeing what to do. Like, that's an interesting plot. I want to see
which is going to be abandoned immediately. But
exactly, that's the biggest problem. It's a tease and then a smack in the face, like like I don't know. Like I'm not the biggest into every medium of Star Wars, but I keep myself to be a pretty good Star Wars fan. I don't give a crap who the Pikes are. I've never even heard of them in anything. Like maybe I shot them in some.
Hold on to the thought about the Pikes because we'll certainly have.
I know
more
we'll get
to say
to
about
the Pikes. My main point. Yeah, we'll get to the Pikes later. My main point is I care about what's happening with the Huts. You know,
totally.
I'm interested in what's happening with the Huts and going with that. So that's what like episode 2. It got me back interested into the show. Like the first one kept me kind of mad, but the second one was like, okay, there's a lot of stuff to be done with here, and I like what they're doing with that, and the whole thing of like trying to retell things where it's like nobody recognizes Fett as royalty because he's not being carried around, but he doesn't want anyone to carry him around. He wants to stand on his own shoulders. But then you have the Huts coming in and everyone's looking at them like, holy crap.
Yeah, again, with the whole with his different daimyo status than Jabba the Hutt, I like that he's. I like to think he's trying to avoid complacency, like the Jabba years, which kind of led him down the pit. So I think fundamentally that's why he's like, okay, I'm not going to get cocky. I'm going to be like really hands-on, really proactive, so I don't end up going to my folly as I had years back. But yes, just again. I think it says something that the Hutts still have a lot of clout post Jedi. Still 5 years later after Return of the Jedi, that you need permission to kill a Hutt. That's still pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I think that I'm with Lazerdude here, where it's like I think the fact that we address the Hutts and then literally do nothing with them is almost more damaging than if we would have just like ignored the Hutts at all and just kind of like assumed that they were off world.
I think
tease.
Yeah, ultimately, what might have behooved the series is if the big double cross was at the hands of the Hutts, like they kind of struck a deal with the Pikes, or they usurped the Pikes or something. If they kind of came in later, like we thought they were out of the equation, then they were like the big advantage in turn we had in the finale, perhaps. But c'est la vie.
Dragon, you know what I wanted?
No.
I wanted a Godfather Part 2! as far as, like, I would have really liked to have seen whatever the hell the Hutt that was in the Clone Wars movie.
You mean you Rhoda the Hutt? You want Rhoda
the
Hutt.
Stinky?
I really would have liked to see him, like, kind of become, like, a Michael Corleone of the Hutt family and, like, try to get control back from Jabba.
This is what I'm saying.
That would have been really cool.
If they do a season 2, man, that's where you go with it.
Here's the thing. I think that the reason why the Hutts, I think, would have worked better as like the main antagonist of the show is because it would correlate with his whole thing that he's doing. Like he followed Jabba and it failed him. Now he's got to rise up against the same class that used to rule him. Like, can you imagine a scene like later, like like him threatening the Hutts with him like standing on top of the slug, aiming his like flamethrower right in his face?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Leave Mos Eisley alone or something, like that would have been like a badass sort of scene.
Yeah, imagine this. Boba Fett just guns down, or with Fennec Shan, they gun down all the people holding up the Hutts on like the little, on the.
That would have been really cool.
Would be great.
Oh, man. And then they just drop to the ground. Just like a giant thud, and then Boba Fett runs up on him and just like shoves like a blaster in its mouth or something.
God damn it! Why didn't we get that?
In his mouth, ready to fire.
Dragon, you just throwing that out there. I'm genuinely upset that we didn't get that now.
Yeah, because they can't stand up their own two plug tails. They can't stand up by themselves. He shoots down who's supporting them. They fall to the ground where he can stand on his own, but he doesn't have to.
And then you do like the cool thing where Han Solo in that deleted, the deleted 90s, re-release.
He has him step on his tail.
Yeah, he steps on the tail. Yeah.
Better yet, he cuts off one of their tails and feeds it to one of those that bird-like creature that died in the that was always looking at Jabba's tail, tempted to eat it.
Oh man!
Oh, yeah, you mean
Okay,
you
why
mean
can't we
Salacious
write
Crumb?
this show? Seriously.
Yeah, why can't we?
Okay,
I
look,
feel
don't
like
wanna
we literally just pitched a better Book of Boba Fett in like 5 minutes than
Okay, look, let's
the
not get
whole show
cocky here.
was.
Let's not throw
It's the
ourselves
problem
down the
is
Sarlacc
I can
pit.
pitch
Come
an
on.
idea. I can't write it down into a workable script.
Oh, that's very fair. That is very fair. I'm the same
Anyway.
way.
Okay, so
I feel
outside
like
this,
I'd be a good script doctor, honestly.
Hmm.
Anyways.
so
Anyways.
outside of again, so the present day stuff, I think we've hit. Like honestly, I've always kind of felt with, as you can see by our image here. I think the most beautiful piece of concept art we got in the whole show was that look at Chrysanthemum. I was so excited when Chrysanthemum showed up because I the few Star Wars comics ever since the Disney kind of merge or whatever you want to call it happened. I loved the Chrysanthemum ideas based on that image. Like, oh my god, a bad Wookiee that basically it worked with Boba Fett, and then that comic, The Hunt Down Luke Skywalker, once is like, oh my god, there's an evil version of Chewbacca that really makes Boba Fett the inverse of Han Solo. That's awesome. So
Chrysanthemum is definitely, I think, out of Boba's crew, he's definitely like the best established, but even still, I think we don't really live up to his full potential throughout the series.
I think he gets the most depth by comparison, though, because
By comparison, yes.
With a Wookiee character, there's not a lot you can actually learn from them from like talking. They can never talk really about what they want or do unless you have a translator there just repeating what they're saying. And even that's hard to do naturally. But for Chrysanthemum, you get to see parts of his character, what he's like. Like he's a fighter because he has like his knuckle things.
Yeah, he was stuck in the gladiator pit.
But he also is not. He's a guy for doing. I'll do it because F you. That's why. You know, like. When he's in the casino, and I know I'm jumping over a little bit to episode 3, when he's in the casino, he's holding that one guy's arm, and she's saying, hey, I'll give you money, I'll give you whatever you want, just let him go. And he's like, F it, and just rips his arm off and walks away.
All right. Yeah.
So,
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I really don't think there's all that much to say about episode 2. I just think it's an all-around pretty damn solid hour of Star Wars content. Like, honestly, if it was just a short film in its own right, I would have been perfectly satisfied.
Then again, we had an explanation for the black robe look, which
it was
is
on
really
Star Wars
good.
Visions. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so again, just the enlightened found family of Boba Fett represented by the black robes. Good stuff. Okay.
Alrighty, so episode 3, The Streets of Mos Espa, aka, I'm sorry, Dragon, I know you disagree with this, but for me, the moment where I was like, oh no, I had the Plinkett reaction. Oh no!
All right, so
No. I think what you mean is you had a bad feeling about this.
Yes, I did. I'm sorry, Dragon. As soon as I saw the Vespas, I'm sorry. I'm with the rest of the internet on this one. As soon as I saw those damn Vespas.
Again, I cite American Graffiti, but I'm outvoted. So there. So I put American Graffiti.
That is absolutely what they are going for. They are going for the American Graffiti Dexter Jettster thing.
Yeah.
I just don't think it works. I don't think Dexter Jettster worked either. Yeah. I just think people are nostalgic for him. That doesn't mean it fits.
Yeah, that's the thing. It fits. It's like if this was in a different universe, like this, you know what this feels like? It feels like these are the kids from like Dimension X from the Ninja Turtles show. You know, they're riding around their hot rods.
Or Alita, or Power Rangers.
Come on, the Power Rangers. Barely any Power Rangers in there. Come on.
Well,
there's definitely some Alita in there, though.
I like Alita, though. I really like Alita.
But
anyway.
I
like Alita too, but it's not Star Wars.
But look, we've seen people lose limbs and outmode themselves. So doesn't it stand the reason, like 5 years down the line, or at least years down the line, ever since we started that process in a galaxy far, far away?
I don't have a problem with it conceptually, Dragon. They're just a bunch of hipster idiots. Like I have a problem with it as far as the characterization goes. They just look like dumb hipsters, and they literally have no characterization. I didn't even know their names.
Well, okay.
Yeah, well, here's what you recognize them as: the girl one, the black one, and the guy that looks like one of the doctors in Doctor Who, like one of the
exactly. And the
That's
girl
all
one,
you
I
actually-
focused in on the blonde one because I'm like, oh, it's the girl from Yellow Jackets. And that's it. That was like the most connection I had was like the pop culture osmosis of like, oh, okay, I can kind of like, I know how she played her character in Yellow Jackets, so I can kind of contrast that to here.
Look, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying they're very well rounded. I'm not saying you have to know who they are. They're the mods. They're again. The fact is, the Boba Fett gets the numbers that he's lacking, and the main thing I like about these guys is how he turned the mod problem into his crew. Again, we saw like, man, he's really outgunned, especially if he's trying to measure.
And
up
I
to
think
perhaps
that's a solid idea, but that doesn't mean they're good characters.
I think-
I didn't say
I think
they
if
were. I
you
didn't
look-
say
even if
there was a
they're-
lot of depth there. I just like them.
I think that it's one of those things where like even if it wouldn't have been that big of a deal if their bikes were like colored and whatnot. If they looked like they were like Imperial speeders, bikes that were then modified to look this way.
Yes. Or
You know, start with
either
a base
that, or if they had a
performance.
little bit of rust on them, if they, just what bothers me so much is just how pristine they look. And I'm sorry, but Star Wars has an aesthetic, and that's not it.
Yes. Star Wars aesthetic.
I'm sorry,
dirty,
Drake, I don't know what to tell you.
dented, well used. Yeah. The only thing
I mean,
pristine
Disney
is the
literally
focus
designed a
of the
whole land
you know.
around that aesthetic.
All right. Okay. So just to refocus a bit.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so I really like about this episode, just with kind of again the main problem solved thing of the mods, and the fact that he's kind of expanding kind of his crime family, if you will. I like that as we're doing that in flashback form, he loses he loses the Tusken Raiders, and also having paralleled that to Luke Skywalker. So perversely enough, given Luke's the one who sent them down the Starlight Pit, that he's it's very much framed like how Luke lost. Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen, as we kind of cut away. And
very visually similar for sure.
So again, I'd like to say maybe thematically it's demonstrating Boba Fett's kind of nobility attempt here, that he's kind of like inching towards kind of a Luke Skywalker turn. It's gonna backfire on him ultimately, but he's just kind of inching towards it. So it's kind of, I thought that was kind of interesting. But also, I think the best thing with our framing device here we do in this episode, we would interrupt the framing device mid flashback where Chrysanthemum.
Okay, you know what's funny is that people have a problem with this scene, and I really don't.
I love this scene. I love it.
I don't see,
device.
This is like an example of the internet where it's like, see, Dragon, I don't like. I don't just like. I don't just jump on the bandwagon with everything that the internet has a problem with the show.
I guess part of me wishes that we got to see how he got past everybody.
That's the thing that people keep complaining about, but I mean, it's like,
oh, he's really
like
good.
from what we saw in the episode. From what we saw in the episode, it's like I don't have a hard time buying that he didn't have a hard time getting past the biker mods.
Yeah, it's especially with the fact that like he's in pay of the twins. They probably know of a secret passageway into Jabba's palace.
Exactly.
They've been there. They know the place.
This is the episode where we introduce the Rancor too, right?
Yes.
Or is that next episode?
No, that's this episode. So what happens is the Hutts, they apologize because basically the Hutts are backing down.
The Hutts are like, never mind, we don't want to be a part of this story.
We tried.
To its credit, I think I get what they were going for with the Hutt thing. And again, unfortunately, it didn't pay out, but I understand the logic. We're okay. The Hutts are backing down. When the Hutts back down, you have a problem. Basically, it's them building up the pikes. Only problem is we didn't really up the ante with the pikes, which is the problem there. Because it's really
almost
weird.
as if they had a figurehead of the pikes that they could have revealed earlier, perhaps in this episode, that would have actually done a good job of building that up.
All right, my point is,
only what a concept, right?
The pikes are kind of known in other things for being just really dangerous because they run like the biggest drug trade in Star Wars. Basically, they're like
Let
the space
flow, Dragon.
Basically, they're
really quick. Just shouting out to Tom Beast. How you doing, man? Happy to see you. Anyways, all right.
Basically, they're like the space cartel. That's essentially kind of what the Pike Syndicate kind of should be, but we kind of amped them down a little bit.
But
yeah, so the point being, the Hutts, they're trying to say mea culpa. Here's a Rancor calf for you, and Danny Trejo just to throw him for the extra bargain there.
Okay, on a rewatch, you know what
Trejo.
really bothered me? I'm sorry, Lazerdude. What?
I was just saying, I wish we saw more of Danny Trejo.
I totally agree. I absolutely agree.
He sold the heck of it. Like, I believed he was a Rancor trainer. Like, he
Totally,
knew all
totally.
that. He sold, like, he looks like a guy that would be a Rancor trainer.
It's like, it was like one of the few times where it's like, yeah, it's obviously Danny Trejo. He didn't like disappear into the role, but I could buy him in the role. You know, it's not just Danny Trejo as Danny Trejo.
Yeah.
But what really bothers me is the whole thing where it's like, this is like a shining beacon example of how this show just got slashed for screen time, where we have this whole hyped up, like, oh, you have to form this big, like, you know, this big bond with the Rancor. And literally we do not see it again until Boba Fett rides it.
Well, we see a little bit of it in 4, though, where he's treating it nice. He's giving it food from the table. And
I guess it's pretty damn fleeting.
Yeah, it's not like we see him like take the time to like when he says I want to ride it. Danny Trejo looks at him like, you're nuts. Like, this is going to take a lot of work.
Right,
to do
right.
it.
Exactly. Look, I agree, but sadly, there's not enough episodes for that. Sadly.
Yeah, but you can't just keep using that as an excuse, though. It's like if they knew they had 7 episodes, they shouldn't have set up so many things.
I'm agreeing with. I agree with you. They should have done it, but they didn't. What do you want me to say? They didn't give enough episodes.
I'm just saying, you got to work with the time you're given, and if you don't have enough time to do it, why even give the Rancor at all? I mean, of course, you want the ending fight.
That's what I'm saying. The frustrating thing is the 2 best episodes of the show are episodes that take away from more stuff we could do.
Yep.
Which is the tragedy of this thing.
Right. Anything else about episode 3?
Well, we get the infamous land speeder chase, but
oh my god! Oh Jesus!
Oh, it's so bad.
It might be the worst action scene in all of Star Wars.
Yeah, give me Obi-Wan and Vader.
Come on, all of Star Wars.
Like, I don't know about the animated stuff, but at the very least, all the live action films.
No, I'm even referring to live action. Think of all the forgettable stuff in Attack of the Clones. Come on.
Okay, that's fair, Dragon. That's fair.
Look. You can call it what it is, and it's overly flashy and not well choreographed. But
I would say the Droid Factory might be worse.
No. Even the Droid Factory, it's flashy, it's over the top. This was slow. It felt like they were doing a chase scene in a school zone, and they were driving the speed limit.
Look, you get
yeah.
Look, I'm not saying this is great. And this, to me, it always read as this. It's just very much like, okay, we had our cool set piece with Chrysanthemum attacking Boba Fett mid back the tank. So that was basically we shot our load in the middle of the episode. So now we have to extend to a climax. That's really what it felt like. So we're just going to stretch it out. As much as I love a land speeder, it still feels very stretched out.
It's pretty much like the definition, Dragon, of when I shorthand the action of like, and they fight.
Which again, because they did all the good fight stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
obviously there's no fighting going on, but it still feels like, okay, and they chase. Come on, chase. All right. Chase.
If you can't do a good chasing, that doesn't mean you can't still have a badass moment. You know, there could be a moment where he gets into the speeder, he's driving away, Boba Fett just walks out all casually, presses a button, and there's like a bomb on the thing that blows out of his motor.
Well, I think the easier answer is he fires the missile and the guy jumps out the last second.
No, I think that'd be a little bit overkill, especially in a town he's trying to protect. But
no, you're right, yeah.
But it's like, if you can't do the chase sequence, just don't do it. It's I mean,
you know what it felt like? It felt like a Spy Kids scene.
Ooh.
And unfortunately, Robert Rodriguez. You know, Robert Rodriguez, he has 2 modes of directing, and he kind of unfortunately slipped into that one.
You know, look, in all fairness, guys, I mean, just with the Attack of the Clones comparison, for example, okay, just saying it's like the worst thing it's ever. It's like, this is like, yes, it's like an extended. We're talking about an extended chase, which happens all the time in other things, versus like something later where it's like, hey, there's a droid factory scene. It's like, we really don't need this at all. It's adding to a runtime of a already lengthy movie where there's a lot of CG fighting. You know, that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's 5 minutes.
I'm literally debating in my head if I would rather watch that or the space horse scene in the Rise of the Skywalker. Like, those are the 2 that are like where they're riding out in horses on a spaceship. Those are the two that I'm thinking of like might be the worst.
All right.
But anyways, we don't need to harp on it anymore.
Let's move on to the next episode.
This one is like, as far as the flashback stuff goes, I'm not gonna lie, I will always take some Sarlacc stuff, and basically what we have from the Sarlacc, I said it before, I'll say it again, it's essentially the Star Tour Sarlacc pit scene, and I think that's really cool. But that's about the only thing of value here. Like, I'm saying, like, all the stuff with Fennec is so surface level, we pretty much knew everything already. It's like, we did not need to have that much time devoted to getting the Slave One back. We know he gets it back. I don't know. It felt very messy. I feel like this was definitely the episode where the Bacta tank became a joke, where it's like, okay, all right, this is getting ridiculous.
It feels like he's an addict. Oh, I got a paper
exactly,
cut. Gotta go to the Bacta tank, guys.
No, he was real scarred up. He needed to heal.
I know, but
I'm just saying, Greg, they just kept cutting to it, and at a certain point, it just became a self-parody.
Well, let me tell you what.
It became the thing that they were using to flash back to the past scenes, but that became a crutch. So the story always had to have him in the Bacta tank in order to tell those past scenes.
And you really, I can't think of another. I mean, there's probably other examples of that where it's like a flashback is triggered in a very specific way. But like
a lot of times flashbacks have the character looking at something and it flashes back to it in the past.
I mean, look at how Lost did it. It's like with Lost, it's like it might not even be a visual thing. It might just be a thematic thing.
Yeah.
But
I mean, for me with the Bacta tank and how the whole thing, I think what hurts it the most is like I could give it like, okay, so if we're basically saying, okay, there was a point to the Bacta thing where he's healing from all of his injuries in the Sarlacc pit, and
I think it should have been 2 episodes max with that framing device.
Yes, my point is,
anything else just felt like overkill. It felt like, okay, we're really dragging this out.
Yeah. What I was getting at is,
Go ahead. Sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
My point is, I think it would have played better. Like, okay, if you want to take 4 episodes to basically get all the backstory, everything that goes into, okay, if I wish we hit a finer point on again precisely why he wants everything he does. I think we get like kind of enough of a surface level thing at the end of like, okay, he wants to kind of start a bounty hunting. Basically, being a bounty hunter himself, he feels he'd be able to bring something to the experience. Being the daimyo, like, I'm not going to send my guys on stupid missions. I'm going to run things better. And again, assumingly, he's attached to Tatooine because that's where he lost the Tusken Raiders, and perhaps if he controls the crime, they won't get killed, like by ruthless bikers. Like, he thinks at that point we're responsible for their murder and that sort of stuff. So we kind of get some answers there, maybe not enough, but we kind of get some there. Point being, if you're going to tell me all of our flashback stuff is going to get wrapped up in 4 episodes, but then, hey, so we're all caught up. We actually do some really good present day stuff in this episode. Mm-hmm. I felt, and then 2 episodes of other stuff. It's like, well, that's to me, that's what really hurts the flashback stuff. It was like the ending, and then we're doing all forward stuff.
Absolutely. It almost feels like 2 completely different shows at that point.
Yeah, so that's what I gave it. I gave it an inch, and then it kind of hung me by the rope, essentially. It's like, okay, I'll give you those 4 flashback episodes because it seems like you were going somewhere with it, and then nope, we're going to another character entirely.
Uh-huh. Okay, should that be a transition? Do we have anything else to say?
Well, I really like the episode for the Godfather sit-down scene and Chrysanthemum and ripping that guy's arm off, which, by the way...
That's a standout scene for sure.
Yeah.
Gave it a shot. We gave it a shot. I love that. I love that with that, though, it was like, that was Chrysanthemum screw you in terms of, like, you know what? She's right. I'm only going to rip off one of his arms instead of both of them. I like that it compromised a little bit. But the thing is, I like the episode for the present day stuff, but by the same token, the things that really get on my nerves, the timeline doesn't make a lot of sense in the episode where they kind of make it really apparently. So he's wandering the desert for 5 years, essentially, is what we're saying. And secondly, the thing that gets on my nerves the most is like, hey, your armor was stolen by Jawas. You left that pit.
Oh man, yeah.
It's not like their ship can fly.
Issue.
That's the thing that
it's
bugs.
A sand crawler.
Yeah. Exactly. So I'm saying that's as much as I really love this episode for the stuff I really like in it. You have elements like that, and you have elements like I am Boba Fett to the little rabbit droid thing. Who, by the way, I don't know if you caught this at the end, part of his crew, little rabbit droid's part of his crew.
I did notice that. I was
Caught
like,
on the
"Dude, when did
rewatch."
that get there?"
All right.
Yeah.
So now we talk about The Mandalorian, Season 3, Episode 1.
Okay, this is easily, pretty easily. I mean, if you count everything, probably the best episode of the season. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
yes, but by the
But
same
again, what is that
point,
saying,
it also
though,
is
for
like
the-
a very fundamental flaw with the storytelling. It's such an enigma. I'm honestly fascinated by it.
I know it's so frustrating because it's the turning point, but for better or for worse. It's like, hey,
This
we've made a-
absolutely should have been the Mando Season 3 opener. There's no reason why it should.
I mean, the only reason that we have it here is because, hey, Boba Fett appeared towards but literally like the episode kind of 5, well 6 in Boba Fett's case. Like you have to like kind of the penultimate space or so for that. Not so much, in his show. We got to return the favor here. Essentially, that's the main reason we did
No,
it.
I mean,
but,
I just think it's so stupid and lazy. Where it's like at the end of episode 4, we have the big cliffhanger of like, oh, I think we need to recruit some muscle, and then the Mando games comes up. And then literally it's like we do this whole side thing. We do this whole side thing with with the Naboo ship and Amy Sedaris and everything, and it's all great. It's all great. I love it. It's very well done. That first flight in the starship is fucking iconic.
Yeah, it's great.
But then we just go like Fennec Shan shows up, not even Boba Fett, but Fennec, and she's just like, "Hey, money." It's just like you literally could have done that whole episode, not had Fennec Shan in it at all, and just gone in a completely different direction, and it would have been a perfectly fine episode of Mando.
Okay, anyway, in regards to the Mando episode itself, so I love the opening.
It's great. I mean, it's like I feel like literally everything about this feels like Mando season 3. Like the opening scene where it's like we're reintroducing how badass Mando is. The Mandalore stuff, which is really cool. I love how Mando is basically a noob when it comes to the Dark Saber. I feel like that's an element of realism that
he injures himself pretty severely.
Yeah, like we didn't really get that with with the sequel trilogy, because it's like with the sequel trilogy, it was like pretty much anyone could hold a lightsaber. And then with the Mandalorian stuff, it's like, we get kind of like a mission statement for the, for the whole season. It's like, oh my God, I'm like honestly like talking through it. It's really good stuff. It is really good stuff.
Halo ring for some reason.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That was like
I really like the
Halo
Halo ring. Actually,
I'm not complaining about it. It does remind everybody who's played Halo of Halo, but it is.
But remember, Halo got it from a movie in the 70s, though. So to be fair, they're pulling from the 70s before they're pulling from Halo.
I kind of viewed it like I'm not really I don't even know anything about Halo outside of like pop culture osmosis. Like,
see, I was thinking Treasure Planet, not Halo myself.
I was honestly more thinking it was kind of like a combination of Coruscant with a space station.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
that was my view of it.
Yeah, sure.
But I mean, this episode's actually really shot well too. It's like that one scene where he's just walking after collecting his bounty, and it just follows him all the way to the poker table where he gets his reward. Then he walks from there. Like, I can't remember, but it's like this is a one shot for a very long time.
It has the point being one or not. It just feels like you're given really good breathing room, which is refreshing.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, I love just setting up this arc for season 3 of Mando, where he's completed his quest. He goes back to rejoin the covert, which now is limited to the armor and Paz Vizsla. And of course, Paz Vizsla, this is a huge payoff. The little animosity I had in season 1, now there's some respect after he saved his bacon with the jetpack. And the Dark Saber, big knights, the big personal stake this
Yeah.
Vizsla has. Like this thing's been passed down from his family and everything. His father was, his great descendant was the guy who held the Dark Saber in the first place. This is very important to him. So,
and he's all too ready to get it back.
I know, so I love that these guys had kind of a little bit of a mini arc in the background of season 1. It's kind of come full circle in a huge way. Like I was wondering, like, are we just gonna throw the name Vizsla around, just gonna half-heartedly, not being like a diehard Clone Wars guy, but like, I knew Vizsla was important, and they got Jon Favreau to voice him again. That's kind of like, yay. He's the Dark Saber being the symbol of the Jedi and the Mandalorian, basically kind of being one and the same in its genesis. So this is a big deal. The whole foundation of Mandalore and the way itself. So we're teeing up a lot of big kind of fundamental questions for Mando season 3.
You know what this episode really, I think, brought into my mind after watching it?
What?
I think Tatooine is probably one of the most boring planets on all of Star Wars.
Oh, it's like the Ghost Town planet.
I've heard people throw that out there, and I don't actually agree with that. I think that
to each their own, but it's just like
I think that like maybe visually, but I think I just what I like about Tatooine is how established it is, like how many different parts of it there are. Whereas, like, I feel like other Star Wars planets are basically like ideas more than they are established locations.
Lava, snow.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sorry. No, for sure. But I guess it's just because like it's a good place for stop sets. I just wasn't sure. I like looking at it, like, I don't necessarily feel like I wanted to stay on Tatooine as like my main location. It's because it's always the planet that the characters want to get off of. Anakin wants to leave Tatooine. Luke wants to leave
Jakku.
Or Jakku. Well, no.
Why does everyone want to go back to Jakku?
Everyone wants to get back to Jakku. Nobody wants to leave there. But it was just like, I liked that we finally got out into the open space air, as it were. It's like, I know we do go back there, but then it's all like in the shop building the ship. Which I like that you take something from the prequel trilogy and we're updating it and making it new. I mean, sure, it's not a good thing for bounty hunting, but now he has a new mission anyway, so he doesn't even need to be a bounty hunter because his mission is now to take back Mandalore, and he has no idea how the heck he's going to do it, but he just has to, because that's the only way he can regain his honor in the eyes of his people that he looks up to.
Yeah, so just I'm piggyback off that. I'm going to read Tom Beast's comment, okay? So real quick. So just in regards to Lazerdude, what he said. Yes, I mean, for me, my favorite moment, honestly, the whole season, if basically, again, with the whole odd Boba Fett thing, where was representing Boba Fett in terms of was the best moment watching this show, the challenge fight was my favorite part of this season because I love that Mando is outmatched. He goes full circle to him kind of having kind of a tussle with this Vizsla guy, more so just the oh my god on the edge of my seat realization that, oh no, like that first fight, she's going to ask, have you ever removed your helmet? And he's going to have to say yes. Don't do it, Mando. Yeah. So just
the payoff for sure.
Yeah, it was such a great payoff, and I felt so terrible for him, man. Just the excommunication, you felt the loss on him there because he just invested everything into the way and the Mandalorian way and everything. So I'm speculating with what you're saying, ladies and dudes, that season 3, he's going to Mandalore on the fool's errand of like looking for like the water in the mines, like under the planet that got destroyed when it got blown up in the Night of 1,000 Tears and everything. And I think while he's doing that, he's going to contemplate the two feuding ideologies of Mandalore with Bo-Katan, like the old ways where we could take off our helmets, and then of course the Death Watch kind of splintering, like we're going back to the days of the Dark Saber where it's all warriors, we don't take off our helmets. Basically, he's going to contemplate what this is the way really means. So to go into Tom Beast's comment, need to get this, I think it means off my chest or out of my chest. If Bo-Katan thinks the Watch are religious nuts, then how is that different of her believing the Dark Saber curse superstition? So we get some really good mythology with the Dark Saber here, is that if you're the whole reason you have to win the Dark Saber in combat is if it's handed down, you're going to end up tanking everything like Bo-Katan, because it was handed to her in lineage, like, hey, here you go, it's passed down to you, it's left to you. Led to ruin, led to the fall of Mandalore, and then we bombed the crap out with the Night of 1,000 Tears. So I think it's more guilt than like her believing the superstition. It's like, man, I screwed up so badly that I think it's like a superstition. Man, that sucks.
I think for her, it's actually more of a uniting thing for the, like, I don't think she believes in the superstition herself because she accepted it as a gift from Sabine last time. But because she did that and then everything went to crap, I think now she's like, I have to earn it the right way to get everyone following me. I have to earn it. I have to win it back. I don't necessarily believe it, but I need a uniting factor amongst all the, to get all the Mandalorians on my side. And if they find out that I was once again gifted it, that's going to cause division and that's going to cause strife amongst my people. So I have to win it back. I can't make any mistakes this time.
That's a good read on that, Lazerdude. Yeah, beyond that, I just wanted to get in there. I love the mundanity of Mando having to check his weapons. He gets on the Star Cruiser, and I love that so much because again, it just drives the knife in my heart before we get the new ship. It's like, and still this new ship's cool, and I absolutely at 1,000% agree with everything you said about he's drifting away from the bounty hunter thing. He's going to the Mandalore, which means he doesn't need like a giant bounty hunter ship, but still, moment of silence. Razor Crest will always be the ship.
It was like the Breaking Bad RV of Star Wars.
I have mad love for the Razor Crest. It killed me when that thing got destroyed. That was the real tragedy.
It had its own carbonite freezing chamber.
I know, so cool.
Oh God.
Okay, so I think kind of around. He's recruited to be on Boba Fett's team. It's on the house because he's got history. He's helped save Grogu. Yeah, that's nice.
Tompi says. Sorry, hold on.
Also, does Bo shun Boba because he's not a Mandalorian, or is it because the people believe he isn't? Yeah, so I mean, it's Well, she's very. Go on, Blazer. What do you got?
Well, I was just saying, like, there was tension when they first got, but I feel like Bo-Katan has, like, we've worked together. You helped us, a little bit, but I don't feel like Boba Fett has any interest in Mandalore. Not to say that he won't lend a hand, but I don't think he'll put himself out there any farther than he needs to, just because to him, he was never of Mandalore. Like, he considers himself to be a Mandalorian, but the planet has no actual significance to him.
I'll bring this up briefly and we'll transition here, is that I have heard the speculation that with this kind of question sounds even more interesting, where if Tatooine, if like being a daimyo on Tatooine is like a stepping stone to him taking up a cause, like a bigger cause that would be like the ultimate kind of redemption, or him like kind of sorting out, like, I've always worn the armor of a Mandalorian, but I'm not truly one. If he ends up with the Dark Saber, restoring, Mandalore, if he's like the guy who beats Mando in a fight for the good of Mandalore, that'd be kind of a really interesting way to kind of take Boba Fett potentially. It's kind of what I've heard, and I'm kind of like, I can't fight that being an interesting idea. Again, I don't know how we get there, but it sounds like an interesting kind of endpoint for that character potentially.
Anyway. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, Chapter 6. From the desert comes a stranger, featuring a surprise guest appearance from Boba Fett.
This was embarrassing. Where he's there, he doesn't say it. Now, to be fair, you know what's funny though?
Stoically nods at Mando.
Okay, you know what's funny about that though? In retrospect, just the fact that Boba Fett's known for just kind of if he had the helmet on, people would not be complaining, and it. Just because that's what he was known for years. Like, oh, he's there, and you have both of them in helmets, just kind of giving them the nod. That would have been like a meme or a gift or something. But now,
totally, yeah.
But no, he doesn't have the helmet on, so it's like, oh man, Tamar Morris, just come on. He's like, if he's gonna have the helmet off, have him say something to him at least. Doesn't say a single word.
He's literally just standing there.
I double checked. He does not say a word.
No, I knew he didn't.
Yep. Anyway, so
let's talk about Luke.
Okay.
Because I feel like that's the big kind of like dividing point with this episode for fans. I am on the side that thinks, I feel like visually the technique has come a long way. I think it looks really good. Way better than it did in Rogue One.
Well, not
audio.
Mando season 2, don't you?
Well, yeah, I'm just saying the technology just didn't.
I get you now. I got you.
Yeah, the audio.
Yeah, audio is shit. That, like, rewatching this, that's absolutely where the problem comes in.
Yeah.
Because when I was watching this for the first time, I was like, this looks a lot better, but it still doesn't feel right, and I can't place why. And it's absolutely the audio.
Yeah. It reminded me of playing Jedi Academy, where somebody else was voicing Luke, and it was just like
even the dialogue itself feels like an NCP.
Yeah, because he doesn't have any emotion in his
Or
lines.
NPC, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there.
Yeah, I was wondering who's NPC. The military
NPC,
police?
yeah, I'm sorry.
Anyway, but yeah, no, I'm totally with you. The audio is so emotionless. It sounds like I get that Luke is a master Jedi and stuff, but that doesn't mean he has to be like grim and emotionless. Like,
Do you
Yoda
know
was
anyone else
really-
who talked like that?
Who?
Oh, I'm saying that's a line from Luke.
Oh, yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's kind of a paraphrase.
It's embarrassing. It's just, I don't know.
Kind of more of a paraphrase. Regardless, I hear the criticism, and you're not wrong that there's something because of the way they did the whole predictive. I keep calling it predictive software, whatever they're calling the technique, where they basically pulled the audio from a bunch of interviews that Mark Hamill did, not interviews. I'm thinking of what they did the first appearance, but no, they did they pulled a radio. There's a Star Wars radio play that he did. That's how they kind of strung it together and did some sort of predictive software, put it together.
Okay, here's my thing with it. I just do not understand why they don't just have an actual actor. This feels like entirely too much effort for the gimmick of having Mark Hamill.
I think it's twofold, Tiki. I think on one thing, which again I can't prove this, but it feels like, because you imagine how would they be thinking of this this far in advance? But it feels like just conceptually with the season, okay, we need heavy hitters, so we need to pull out the effect again. That's kind of what it feels like. But secondly, it feels like because it was such a brief role, it's okay, we're not going to go the full Sebastian. Let's just call it the Sebastian Stan route, in which we're going to if we're going to do a long-term thing with Luke Skywalker, give him a show or put him more frequently in a show, we're going to need an actual performance.
Okay, yeah, but you realize the more that this Luke Skywalker pops up, the more jarring and it's going to be if Sebastian Stan or someone like that does.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
you're not wrong.
That's my problem.
I agree with you. I'm saying this is where they should draw the lines. If they do it again, then they're going to be doomed. That's what I would say with this. I think this is as far as they can actually push that effect. Otherwise, it's going to become a problem. But especially if they're just doing the whole thing, we're just pulling entirely from that radio show. It's guys, we're going to have a serious problem.
You're going to run out of audio eventually, guys.
However, they did get Grogu at him, which I'm still shocked how they were able to do that. But we got Ben Kenobi to say Rey in Force Awakens, so I guess it's possible.
Maybe Mark Hamill did an interview about plants. He was like, "Oh, the plants grow, and then it grew."
Very clever, Lazerdude. Maybe that.
I feel like. Oh God, never mind. Anyways,
well, at the end of the day, I don't mind. Honestly, because I was so caught up into the emotion and how good the effect looked. I mean, maybe they had to pull the wool over my eyes. I don't know. I love the full circle. Oh, look at this. He's trained by Yoda. He's training the next generation. We're putting him in the little thing.
As far as spectacle goes, I think it's on point. I love the frog shot. I'll give it that much.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. There was a lot. It was nice to see Luke interact with Baby in the little walk where he's lifting with the Force and everything. All that was good. So I could forgive if you overthink it, yes, it's unemotional in the delivery, but there's a little bit of wiggle room with the Jedi detachment thing. But you're right, that doesn't fully excuse it at all. So it's just, I'd call it a gimme. But again, the season has too many gimmies in it. So it's a problem. No, go on.
I was just gonna say my biggest problem with Luke is I feel like he's a little bit of a hypocrite in this episode. Considering where
big time!
I mean, he's you have to let go all of attachments, and Grogu could be like, "Oh, so you not talking to Leia anymore? Are you not talking to Leia? Not talking to Han? Don't have any attachments, Luke? Have you cut yourself off from everyone that you've ever cared about? That's what's happening with you, Luke? Is that what you're doing?" It's no, then shut the heck up.
Into Stewie Griffin, oh, you're writing a novel.
Now, to be fair,
I get that you need to not allow your emotions for other people drive your actions. That's where he went wrong in Empire Strikes Back. But to the point where it's just you have to cut off. Is that really what his Jedi should be doing. Like, I always feel like Luke should have learned from the mistakes of the previous Jedis that sure, emotions are a dangerous thing, but you try to cut them off entirely, then you're just going to drown people of them.
It could be argued. A lot of people have kind of looked at that the whole like the choice at the end of this and like saying like, okay, Luke's he knows he's putting him in the position that he was in Empire, so it's like okay, he's going to let him make his own choice here. Where I think it's likely he's going to leave,
sure.
to help his friends like he did. I don't think Luke's really surprised by the outcome there. We don't see that, so I don't really know. But it's
just
just
feel like the like if that's the way they're going with it, if he was like maybe like I feel like they could have. And again, fucking audio. There's not a lot they can do with the tone, that might be why it might be helpful to have an actor,
but or at least a voice actor,
right? But yeah, I feel like if the tone would have been more like, yeah, Grogu, I know that you have to do this, and I'm laying this option out in front of you because it's the Jedi way, but go do what you have to do. That would be one thing. Unfortunately, I think he comes off like a big jerk.
Now, to be fair, if you really think about it, I mean, when Luke does have his family connections, it does end up terribly. If you look at what happens in the sequel, which was like, yeah, I'm going to train my nephew. Did not go well. And to be fair, when he was like kind of training Leia in the Jedi sense, but you're right, though. I'm saying with the once the family came in, it did go belly up, is my point. So I don't think there are any clear answers in terms of family
involved in your business, Dragon.
So all I'm saying is I don't think there are necessarily, with the hypocrisy, I don't know if there's a clear-cut answer to that if you look at the grand scheme of things necessarily, but you're not wrong.
They can maybe fix it down the road. Like I don't think Luke is saying like he's completely done with Grogu made his choice, I'll never ever train him. Like Grogu can change his mind. Luke messed up with Yoda and stuff like that. Like I'm not saying because Grogu has to eventually go back. They have to do that, but they just at this point he hasn't been able to make that choice for himself yet.
Right. I mean,
there is the issue though that if Grogu does go back, then he essentially dooms himself.
Again, unless you have like an awesome thing where he's like the one survivor of Kylo.
That would be cool. I would like to see that. I'm not gonna lie.
Here's my pitch. Whatever is going on in the other far reaches of the galaxy that Grand Admiral Thrawn is dealing with, he teams up with Grogu and they go fight it off. And they come back like through 100 years later and they're like, whoa, what happened over here when we were gone?
Yeah. Ultimately where I think we're going with kind of like the Grogu story, period, is like, because we have Ahsoka in this episode. Obviously, Dave Filoni, you got to have Ahsoka in there somewhere. So Ahsoka's in the episode. And Ahsoka's whole thing
I really don't think she needed to be.
Well, no.
I like the moment that Luke actually gets to meet someone who knows who his father was.
That's really cool in itself, to be frank. But,
I'm on the side where it's like I think I like the moment in theory more than I like the execution of said moment. Again, if they had a fucking actual actor, I'm sorry, and I know I'm beating that to death, but
Tiki, let me just meet you on the Ahsoka part of it. Let me meet you halfway with something, Tiki. Is that the episode again does feel like it's Disney playing a little scared, and like we're setting up the other shows we have down the pipeline.
Oh, this absolutely just feels like a backdoor pilot to the Ahsoka show, at least. Yeah,
and the difference is Mando at least is like a full episode of the Mandalorian.
Absolutely,
in this case, this is just like it's kind of like it's set up and it's kind of the.
I feel like this episode is a lot more embarrassing in regards to like, hey, did you know that Boba Fett is in the Book of Boba Fett show? Right. In regards to like he actually shows up, but he literally does nothing.
Okay, so anyway, with
absolutely nothing.
We could have paralleled it. Grogu doing Jedi training, Boba Fett riding the Rancor.
Exactly.
Right.
God. All right.
And it's not like you had to write this for TV. You would have added 10 more minutes.
What?
Oh God, if Grogu did get killed by Kylo Ren, then Mando would have hunt down Luke like an animal. Oh, I love that. I do love that.
God.
Wow.
Anyway,
could you imagine if that was like the final episode of Mando?
Well, let me ask you this:
Like Grogu getting killed is like the Ozymandias.
do you think it ends in a tragedy? Luke would have to kill the Mandalorian. Do you think that's what it is?
Oh,
like,
Jesus Christ, that's possible.
Because think about it, I mean, you can't kill Luke by definition, so it would have to be the other way around.
I feel like at that point the writers would just kind of throw their hands up and be like, "Well, Luke's never going to be likable ever again."
That's the thing. It's like you killed the most popular Star Wars character now. The most anyway. So what I'm getting at is, outside of again the whole like the fun fact of like, hey, Ahsoka's finally met Luke, and the interactions in front of the family, and kind of seeing Anakin and Luke is, I think Ahsoka is kind of our foreshadow to Grogu's path, which may pay off in what Mando season 3 or wherever we're going with that. Ultimately, is that Ahsoka is, she left the Jedi Order, so she is a representation of connections and being a Jedi. So by that logic, she could, Grogu could follow in her path, and that's maybe why she's around, perhaps. Again, there's all speculative. We don't really know until we see what the plan is with the little baby. But it's that's kind of sense I get. Like that's kind of she's giving some really good, wise advice to everybody. It's like, well, maybe let's not box him in a corner. Like let's just let him take his own path. It's, yeah. So
also, I need to address it. I absolutely adore the little Gimli armor.
Yes, he wore the shirt. Wearing the shirt.
All right.
Seriously, they got to do like a merchandise, and they just like play it in all like.
Absolutely, like, man.
You're wearing the shirt. Anyway, so we got to talk about Cobb Vanth and Cad Bane.
Yes. Cad Bane, I think abso-fucking-lutely should have been introduced as soon as the Pikes were.
Hey, I would just like to pat myself on the back a little bit because I said in the episode that I was with you guys that they were building up to some character reveal that we've already seen in Star Wars history. I didn't know who it was or what it was, but I'd just like to pat myself on the back for that.
Good for you.
Yeah, good for me. I know it's not that big of a deal, but yeah.
No, please go on. No, go on.
Well, I don't really know because I'm just starting to like get into Clone Wars. I thought, after I saw this guy, I was like, I know this guy is from Clone Wars. I don't know anything about him. Maybe I should start watching Clone Wars again. So I've started watching Clone Wars again. I'm only a few episodes in, but I haven't even gotten to this guy yet. But it was just like, I feel like this is a pretty big deal. But I did like that it was kind of like a Western for a second, but it does feel a little late, especially since he's not even the main villain. It doesn't feel as big of a thing because main villain's still the Pikes. But
okay, I'm just gonna say so we don't have to worry about it in the next episode. It was always a big mistake in my eyes that he wasn't the trigger man on from the Pikes to kill the Tusken Raiders. That is a huge missed opportunity.
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
I think it's the biggest missed opportunity of the season. Here's what I'm saying with Cad Bane and his region. Here's the thing. Had they paid him off more with that, if they made that alteration, Tiki, I wouldn't mind that he is introduced in the penultimate episode because
he would have had a presence.
He would have had a presence, and again, he's always the Cad Bane in Clone Wars. This period has always been like the Boba Fett level. Like we can't have Boba Fett because he's a kid in that time.
Right,
so we have
right, that
Boba
makes
Fett
sense.
bounty hunter, who basically we get to spend more time with, who actually is like a Boba Fett with substance. Essentially, was the whole gimmick of that character. So in a meta way, in a show where everyone's like, we want the old Boba Fett. We're going to give you the old Boba Fett in the form of Cad Bane, who also represents all these big ties to his past, all that sort of stuff. So there was a lot of potential of like rounding out and confronting him with his past and doing stuff like that. But again, without that Pikes thing, we don't. We're missing.
What species is he?
I have no idea.
Because he's blue with red eyes. That seems very Chiss to me, but he can't be a Chiss.
He's cool though.
That's the species.
Yeah, he's just cool. I mean, let's be honest though. How awesome! Even if you don't know who Cad Bane is, man.
It's a cool design.
He's cool, and he sounds like
he's got a hell of
Burton.
a presence too.
I'm just saying, Corey Burton playing like the man with no name in space essentially is awesome.
It's really cool to see a Corey Burton character realized in quote unquote live action.
I know. I mean, it's a suit, man. It looks good. It's like, yeah. All right. Also, Cobb, man, I love seeing him.
Now, can we get Hondo?
That's what I'm saying. If they can do
Hondo?
this, that they can. This proves they can absolutely do the Hondo like they do in Galaxy's Edge.
Hondo for Mando season 3, possibly.
I know that here's the thing. Hondo appears.
oh, the little guy, little bean guy. Oh, he's so cute.
Oh my god! Oh god! Hondo's reaction to Grogu. Oh my god! Give it to me. Yes.
Hondo has appeared in all the. Book of Boba Fett being an exception because I don't know if this is the last season for or not. But let's just say Hondo appears in every Star Wars show so far, so he is bound to make an appearance. And Dave Filoni is involved, so clearly there is a chance we're going to get Hondo next season. If he's going to show up, it would be next season.
Wait, anything else about Cobb Vanth? I also feel like I'm fine with the amount of screen time he gets, and I love Timothy Olyphant, and he absolutely steals the show.
Yeah,
I almost think that you could have done a little bit more with him. I feel like he could have been like a key cog in the Boba Fett storyline from way earlier.
Yeah, it does feel like a little bit of a high buy, which is a lot of the problems with the episodes in this show. It's like it introduces and gets rid of like instantaneously. Like if he was part of like Boba's crew or something like from the beginning, or at least had connections, and then tried to be brought in.
Like at the very least, if he was like part of the meetings or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's a conversation to be had between these two guys. Like, hey, I used to wear your armor. You know, there's something there.
Yeah.
Okay, it bugs me that we never even get like an interaction between them. Yeah.
Which is a shame. I mean, he does save his life in the end, but it's off screen, so it doesn't really count.
Also, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna throw this out there again. I love that I literally joked about like Boba Fett, like, hey, Cobb Vanth, come use the Bacta tank. Come take a nice soak in the Bacta tank.
Ride my Bantha, we'll go to the Bacta.
God.
And it's like, I'm done using it. Now it's your turn. Let's see some of your flashbacks.
Let's have a Cobb Vanth show where he's just but it's not as it's just like, oh, I remember that one time I had a huge dump. It was like so big.
It's like the tank just becomes like the universal
central
symbol in Star Wars for flashbacks.
So it's like
Boba Fett like starts a business like, hey, relive your childhood trauma.
You know what's funny?
Therapy.
There should be a robot chicken sketch. Like he gets out and he's like, oh, where did I put my keys? Gets back in the back and then, oh, there they are.
Two things. Okay, so just in reality of this back to tank thing paying off. We know Darth Vader is going to be in the Obi-Wan show, and remember, Darth Vader in his off time, he is like kind of in a similar. Remember, Darth Vader. Even though like some fan films that we've seen of the thing, like, just in general, Darth Vader, he has like kind of a thing like Boba Fett, only his can't get healed because it's so badly damaged. So he's perpetually in that tank, trying to get healed at times. Like, he's just trying to. That's like, we saw it in Rogue One for a bit. He's in like the kind of a back to tank sort of setup. So in theory. If we're gonna do any flashbacks, Hayden Christensen.
I would literally crack the fuck up if we did that. If we just went to the exact same structure, I would love that from a meme point of view.
What I'm hoping is, if I think there's only gonna do that for an episode, but the fact is it'll still probably happen.
Like what's the what flashbacks was Luke seeing when he was in the back to tank?
Exactly.
No, at Peru.
Uncle, you're roasting alive.
Of course. Oh no! Take me out of here. He was struggling in there.
Or far more casual. Just these flashbacks. Oh man, I gotta buy more blue milk.
Oh man. Or he's having a flashback to go into the Tashi station to pick up some power.
Well, which remember, we went to Tashi station this season. That's where the bar was, but it was turned into a bar after the war.
Maybe he's remembering how ripped off he got from selling his speeder. He's like, oh, because they're not in demand anymore because the new i5s are out.
All right.
Okay. We're getting. The point being, I like how smart Cobb Vanth was, knowing the spice thing would be a problem, and he's just going to throw a tough front that ultimately gets gunned down. So poor Cobb Vanth. But
he has a really good opening scene where he just like shoots two of them. He's like, think it through.
Yeah, God, Oliphant's awesome. Okay. That brings us to the finale.
Leads us to, I'm not going to lie, one of the messiest finales that I've seen in a while. I feel like if the chase scene was the example, like chase, This is literally like a full episode, like, and they're fighting. Fight. Still fighting.
Okay, since
Still
you're
fighting.
bringing up
Fight,
the
fight, fight,
action,
fight,
I'm just
fight,
gonna
fight,
I'm
fight.
gonna jump to my problem with the action already. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So for me, it's simply this. I think what really compromised it with the fighty fight going on way too long is I like the pattern of you have like a totem of Star Wars as your climax, which has been good so far. We have one TIE fighter at the end of Mando season where we have the Dark Troopers. That's fine. That's nice and dandy. Okay, you want to go with the like the kind of the separatist kind of Scorpio droid thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine, but you got to pick a lane. Okay, either give one with all the trimmings, and one that has a force field and there's everything, but just one, or two of them but no force fields. Okay, you can't have both because it just becomes like, guys, why are we shooting at the thing with the force field that clearly?
Oh my
has not
god,
worked
there
yet?
was so much firepower going to the force fields. It drove me
I
crazy.
mean, you see what I mean? It's like
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like either have Grogu take
like
out one
all
of the
that screen time. It was like every time we saw them shooting the force fields, I was just like, we don't need to see this.
It's like I
Well,
wanted
also,
to.
why are they shooting at it in the first
Exactly.
It's like
Like,
the Luke
it-
Cage thing of, guys, he's bulletproof. Why are we wasting the bullets? Or the Superman thing, like, guys, Man of
Yeah.
Steel, you get it.
Well,
you know?
here's the thing. It would have been okay if, like, what if, like, for the one that was attacking, like, Boba's crew, what if they eventually overloaded it? That
That's
would
what
have,
I'm
at the
saying.
very least, justify, them shooting it, But as it is, these force fields seem to be utterly impenetrable to anything ever. And why doesn't everybody, but like, why isn't there a generator like this for stormtroopers and stuff? Just walk around with these stupid force fields.
Honestly, I think the Empire has a budget.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But you know what I mean? It's like it's like if you could use the droidicas in Star Wars Battlefront with the amount of power of shields that they have in these shows, you would just never die.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, fundamentally, it's just like, okay, you have two big power elements on your side here. You got Baby Yoda and you got the Rancor. Like, either have them both take out one, which is a lot easier without the force fields, or everyone with Baby Yoda like taking out a piece and then the Rancor finishing the job on one that has all the trimmings. I think that just would have made it so much easier. I do like the location. I like it setting it on the streets of Tatooine because that's literally what Boba Fett's been all obsessed about this season. So it's like on the streets and everything. That I liked with it. For example, when Grogu comes back into the fray, I love that it's like this awesome rickshaw chase with Pele and everything, like through the streets. Mando hanging on the back, and then we have like the Force hug, which is adorable. It's like that was nice.
Yes, but that thing should have put a lot more distance between itself and the bot than it ended up doing. Because those things, it's like if you're either going up against a guy with a wheel, like a motorcycle, versus a guy on stilts, you should put yourself a lot more speed and distance against the guy on 4 stilts.
Yep. I mean, honestly, again, it's like the setup for the action is good, in which we have like our big Godfather, kind of our big Godfather mob turn, where okay, all the families that swore like, yeah, we're not going to take sides against you, are like, okay, we're protecting the people, and the people turn on us and shoot at us like that. That's a great moment that fits into the crime drama thing, but unfortunately, then we're going to throw a bunch of like force fieldy Scorpio droids at you, and then it's going to be a lot of shooting, a lot of blasting. And as much like great Butch and Sundance moments as you're going to have with Boba Fett and Mando, it's just going to get old after a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then with the Rancor, I do like it in theory, but I feel like the two problems with it are, like I already discussed, just the lack of build up to it. And then also the fact that we pretty much do like a full-on Man of Steel of like, gee, guys, thanks for saving the city.
Yeah, you're right. I'm going to fight you a little bit on the setup for the Rancor, but I will absolutely agree with you with the Man of Steel thing. Yeah. It's you know what I really like about the Rancor is, in retrospect, rewatching the season.
Huh.
I like the kind of our tributes to stop motion that both opened the first episode and closed the last episode, where we had like the Ray.
I do like the King Kong thing. I agree.
No. Think about it, though. The first episode we have like a Harryhausen monster, and we end with like a Willis O'Brien King Kong monster in stop motion. That's kind of cool. Like we kind of bookend it in a way.
Sure.
Yeah, it's like a little like kind of catch. With the King Kong thing, that was cool as that is. I mean, I just love like kind of the nod to like the Phil Tippett and Wills O'Brien with like, it's like Phil Tippett. They dreamed of like doing it. They would have loved to do this in CG like they can now, but they had to do it in stop motion back in the day. Just the fact that after the Rancor like takes care of business, then we just like, well, now it's off the chain. Now it's just destroying the city like King Kong. It's like we don't need that. It's just tacked on. Like I don't need Mando fighting a giant Rancor. It's cool though because Baby Yoda puts it down with the Force. Like that's nice. It's like, oh, look at our cute baby Rancor and the baby Yoda kind of sleeping. Oh, it's adorable. Like, so who has a camera? Yeah, but again, like, do we need it? No. Is it cute? Yeah. It's what that is. But I mean, look, to me, the substance.
My biggest problem with the finale is the simple fact that I felt like they were forced into a situation that they put themselves in for no good reason. Like Boba Fett's like, we should head back to the palace, and the guy's like, no, we shouldn't. Boba Fett's like, okay, and that's it's like, why not? It's like, are they attacking the citizens? Is that their plan? It didn't seem to be that was their plan. They never fired at anybody. It didn't seem like it was like, you'll put the streets in danger. It's like, really? I think they're coming after Boba Fett specifically. And I almost feel like we're cheated out of an attack on Jabba's palace. That could have been like a really cool thing with them trying to attack Jabba's palace and them just like using every area that we've seen in it to their advantage.
That's a very good point, Lazerdude. I think you're right about that.
Imagine the Rancor destroying the whole palace instead of destroying the town.
Yeah.
That would have been a lot more satisfying.
I think
especially
you're right,
if they think he's in the Rancor pit and then he's like in the throne room.
As much as I like
Just,
the setting in the streets, I think
it could have been like an homage to the T-Rex from Jurassic Park too.
A little bit. I mean, yeah, you know. I gotta admit, guys, you guys are kind of making a good point there. I like saying in the streets, but yeah. And plus, the Rancor's like right there. We played
Star Wars Battlefront 2, about a big battle in Jabba's palace. It'd be fun.
Yeah.
All right.
But the big thing, I also think that there's a scene that's missing. Like we get Fennec who just utterly wastes the three like Climb Lords and the Pike guy.
Okay, that's a huge problem to me.
Yeah, there should be a scene where that scene should have ended with like a big smoke grenade goes in, they all pass out, and they all wake up, and there's Boba Fett. His helmet is now on. He's not looking them in the eye with respect anymore, and he just, I don't know, cuts them up, kills them, does whatever he wants them, feeds them to his Rancor, like maybe pushes them into the Rancor pit one at a time while they kneel.
Man, honestly, like Lazerdude, that's all cool and everything. I think the simple answer is like just have him do all the cool stuff that Fennec Shand did to kill them all, like like strangling the mayor and then like killing all the rest of the guys.
Yeah,
maybe,
you could do that too.
It up a little bit, but that's what I'm saying. That's simply is like he tried his way and it failed. Which again, okay, that's part of our story, but the resolution should be okay then. Boba Fett again, he's renouncing like the respect that he gave them and just going full like basically it would have fed into what I think it's so weird because I think the best part of the episode is also troubled because we didn't have Cad Bane be the trigger man because we had that conversation between the two of them and it would have proven Cad Bane right that he has to go back to his old ways, which gets results, which would have been proven if he took out all those crime bosses, which would have been more interesting, I feel. But again, like those two things that kind of unravel the episode when we don't have him in there, and when Boba Fett doesn't do his own dirty work in the end, and when Cad Bane wasn't like the big bad ultimately.
It also feels kind of pointless. Like I guess he was okay. Here's the thing: they're like, wait, don't go out there, don't try to fight Cad Bane. Do it on your terms, and by your terms, I mean 10 minutes from now when you do the exact same thing. It's like, what was the difference? What advantage did they get by not going out at that moment?
You're not wrong, because do you remember if he had people behind? Well, he might have had people behind him.
Well, he had people behind, but he had people behind when they went out later anyway. The only advantage that they did was they set out the mayor's assistant with a little bit of an FU with the message, and which is fine.
Funny? I heard that device was like a bowling game that they just repurposed for the show. It's like the little thing he writes on.
Oh God, that's great.
It's awesome. No, but I hear your point. I think there was less people when they were. I thought the Rancor took care of it, so it was literally like a mano a mano sort of thing. I could be wrong. You might be right.
But I just think into the ending of this is similar to the ending of season 1 of The Mandalorian. But in that situation, they didn't choose to stay there. They were forced there by a trap by the Empire, and they were in a tight spot that they had to get out of. They had a chance to leave. Nobody made them stay there.
True.
They put themselves into a corner for no good reason.
All right.
I mean, again, just the final showdown. Again, it just frustrates me because I do love a lot of this with the fact that again we do tee up the fact that it's like he knew. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I love that he doesn't want to kill Boba Fett, whether it's out of laziness of like, why do I got to kill? Let's just not do this, so I don't have to kill you, so I don't have to expend any energy I don't want to have, or that, or it's the fact that I knew you, I knew your father. Like, don't make me kill you. Like, I trained you for heaven's sake. Like, we shot each other in the head last time. I don't want to do that again. Just the fact that we had Cad Bane call out what the show was. What the show honestly should have been more focused on with the whole. What's the angle? Why did you do this, Boba? Like what's the scam here? Why Tatooine? Why you want to be a daimyo so bad? You gave it a shot, but you got your father's blood in your veins. That whole exchange I really did like. And if you're gonna kill Cad Bane, like doing the thing that everyone wanted to see in Clone Wars, but they didn't shoot ultimately, have the showdown between these two. That was a good way to kind of go out and kill him with the gaffy stick. Which again,
but you literally kill him off like as soon as a lot of the fans are just getting to know him. Like anyone who has not watched Clone Wars,
he's just as dead as Kingpin is. Let's be real.
Come on, he's a little. It's not. We actually saw.
I do love that the last 2 Disney Plus shows have ended in a very similar way in that regard.
Okay, to be fair, like this one was on screen. We saw him impaled. I mean, it's like
impaled. We've seen people's limbs cut off and just walk it off.
All right, fine. Well, either or.
People could literally survive in real life, much less an alien who maybe is like, I don't actually have any vital organs in that part of the body.
That's true.
Look, Darth
Maul was cut in half.
Okay, look, you're okay. Actually, that's an excellent point you just made there. So you're not wrong. I keep forgetting about. Yeah, he was cut in half. That's how. So okay.
Could you imagine Cad Bane coming back with spider legs?
Well, I mean, we shot Cobb Vanth, and we literally brought him back as the post-credit scene. So again, death is an illusion.
Oh, let me address that really quick. It really annoys me that the bartender dude was like gunned down in cold blood.
Well, again, they thought he was dead.
They thought he was dead. Then how the hell did they get him to the tank?
I don't think they brought him there.
It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Okay,
I mean,
to me, it's pretty obvious that line was put in for shock value, and then like, oh, never mind.
Well, did you buy it? I didn't. I'm like,
not really. I don't know.
Because he shot Cobb once, and then the deputy like a billion times.
Right, yeah.
Okay,
well, for me, it was like I saw Cobb shot in the shoulder. I knew the deputy was dead. I saw Cobb shot in the shoulder, so I thought there was a chance he was okay. But then when we said he was in cold blood, I was like, "Oh no, he's dead." No,
I didn't buy it for a second.
Yeah, well, you're smarter than me.
Not to brag.
One of the fun things about this show has been
I don't believe anybody's dead until I see them buried, and even then.
Okay, my point, just getting back to the Cad Bane for a second, is like, look, I love it if he comes back because I love that character. So if he's not dead, thank goodness. If he is, though, again, if you're gonna like match him with that character, and you could always retroactively go back to a Clone Wars and all the other shows that Cad Bane pops up, and like, okay, look, Cad Bane, like we can learn about him retroactively. It's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Or Obi-Wan or whatever.
Whatever's gonna pop up. Yeah.
So one of my favorite things about this show has been the memes that have popped out of it. And one of my favorite memes is just like Cad Bane talking to Bob Marley and saying, I shot the sheriff. But you didn't shoot the deputy, right? You didn't shoot the deputy, right? All right. Anyways.
Right.
All right. Guys, we're this is going on almost 2 hours, so I kind of want to wrap it up.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, there's a wrap up, so
Well, yeah, you know what I mean.
That's what we've been doing.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. So again, he does the Godfather Part 2 walk. He's got Shan, the crew.
I think one of the lines in this show that just kind of like epitomizes this show as a failure to me is maybe we're not cut out for this. I'm like, gee, Boba, you think? So what the fuck was the point of all of this then?
Basically, it's an attempt at just making him sound humble that has just now been taken out of context by everybody in not a good way when the season's not measured up. I don't
know.
Like, if one of those things where the
Lazerdude, where
show
do you
was
fall
good,
on
nobody would
this?
bat an eye on the line. But
I don't know. Yeah.
like, if you were to rate this on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give it?
What, the whole show?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe like a 6, maybe.
I mean, that's still in the positive area, man.
I know.
Above
I'm
average.
just saying that episode 2.
Fair enough. I'd probably give it a 4 for me, because as a show as a whole, like, there are parts I like, but overall, I don't think I'll ever watch the show again. I might watch the clips of the stuff I like, but the show over again, I don't think so.
I'd probably go
I agree.
7.5, probably.
Fair enough. Teach their own.
That's way too generous.
I'm a nice guy. Anyway. So, speaking of numbers. So,
Yes.
Tiki, why don't you? So, folks, we're going to rethink this sort of thing, but we've done kind of a poll as the episodes came out, and don't ask us the math, but we kind of figured out kind of an order in which you folks voted and like how you were enjoying the series, since we already shared how we were kind of enjoying the series.
I feel like this is super arbitrary, just because
very arbitrary. It's ranking
like,
in general.
There is just not an easy way. Like, I think I honestly think the big problem with these polls is just the fact that there is like a significant difference in the number of people voting from week to week, and that just makes it tough.
Essentially, folks, the way we'd like to do it is just wait till the end and put up all 7 episodes, and I was like, hey, folks, vote on which episode is your favorite. That'd be the easy way to do it, but unfortunately, will not let us do more than 5, which is why we have to go through the whole rigmarole here. So that's kind of...
And this is going to be the last time we do a ranking, I think. I just don't think it's worth it anymore. I honestly don't really think anyone cares. Like, we did a poll and people said they wanted it, but I still think it's just super arbitrary. With that in mind, in 7th place is episode 7. In 6th place is episode 1. 5th place, episode 2. Okay, well, let me break this down, actually, because this is one thing I noticed with the rankings. That's kind of interesting, is that episode 7 is at the bottom. 1 and 2 are the next one downs, or the next one down. And then 5 and 6 after that. And then in the top spot are 3 and 4. So I honestly thought that
doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, again, folks, there's kind of a disproportionate amount of votes I'm imagining is going into this, Tiki. Like, did we have like a tier system, or like was it like what do you think? Was it just like, do you think it's like more people vote on certain?
Basically, Dragon, what I did was I went based on the highest number of 5 out of 5 votes, and then from there I went. If there was a tie, I would go like the highest number of 4 out of 5 votes, and so on and so forth.
All right. That's what I'm saying, folks. Ranking, it's arbitrary. It's not saying we're not going to do lists because we are.
I mean, I think episodes 3 and 4 honestly might be some of the weaker episodes.
That's what I would say.
I mean, it kind of goes in my favor technically with the whole mob scene, which I like in episode.
I guess
4,
so. Yeah, that's true.
But then again, the best episode equivocally is episode 5, but it's not a Boba Fett episode, so it's kind of weird how that works.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised that episodes 5 and 6 were not at the top.
Yeah, it's weird.
And episode 2, right up at number 5. Like, that's anyways.
It's been a weird show. It's befitting.
This whole process.
Yeah. So let's thank the folks. We have Tom Beast in the comments who joined in, gave us some food for thought in regards to the goings on of Mandalore and where little baby Grogu's going perhaps in the future, and also major thanks to our guest.
Well, I'm glad to have joined you guys.
And the Lazerdude, we will most likely be bringing you back for Survivor Storytellers. So look forward to that. I'm sure Dragon's thrilled. All right. Okay, well, that'll do it for us this week as we holster our remotes till the next installment calls for the draw. Mano y mano. Just plus. And us.
I'm Boba Fett.
Boba Fett? Boba Fett where?
Right.